What if Sukuna fought every sorcerer at once? Have you ever wondered what would happen if every sorcerer jumped Sukuna at the same time? Jujutsu Kaisen has this habit of breaking our hearts with one-on-one fights. You know, that death parade every fan knows and hates. One person steps up, loses, dies. And another person steps up, loses, dies. It's frustrating. But what if there was a glitch in the Matrix? Today, we're ripping up the original story and throwing the King of Curses against the overwhelming, fully synchronized force, everyone who's still alive. What would Sukuna do against a coordinated army at the absolute peak of Jujutsu sorcery? And more importantly, could they avoid that bloodbath and save Megumi's soul without losing the people they care about most? And guys, let me tell you something. The result of this would be absolutely insane, and it would completely change the story. I'm Shoyo, and today we're diving deep into the mechanics and power scaling of the Jujutsu Kaisen universe to theorize the ultimate showdown. But before we start breaking down this scenario, go ahead and drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and let's see how this fight would actually go. Because in one of these specific timelines, Yuji is going to use a completely broken soul trick that messes with Sukuna's mind and changes the laws of cursed energy forever. How would he do that? Don't worry, we're going to explain exactly how it happens very soon. So to understand this insanity, we're going to split this event into 3 different timelines. So pay close attention. Scenario 1, the strongest paradox. In this first alternate scenario, we jump straight to the beginning of the Shinjuku showdown. Gojo has just been released from the prison realm, but this time, the new generation refuses to sit in a room watching the fight on TV like it's some kind of sports event. Everything starts the same way as the original story, except this time, the second Gojo steps onto the battlefield. Yuta, Hakari, Maki, Kusakabe, Ino, and Choso march right behind him, forming a complete tactical surround around Sukuna. Any fan's first instinct would be to think that Gojo, the strongest sorcerer of the modern era, fighting alongside special grade and grade 1 sorcerers, would crush Sukuna in 5 seconds, right? But here's the thing. This is where the strict internal logic of the Jujutsu world kicks in. Satoru Gojo fights infinitely better alone. The moment you put all the good guys in the same battlefield, you create what I call the strongest paradox. Why does this happen? Pretty much because Gojo's limitless technique requires total control over 3-dimensional space. With his students in the same arena, Gojo simply cannot use his domain expansion, Unlimited Void. If he opens his barrier, he instantly fries the brains of his own allies. He also can't fire off a full power hollow, purple, or red in a wide area, because he could literally erase Yuta or Yuji in the process. Just like he was limited in Shibuya because of the civilians, here he would be limited because he has to protect his beloved students. And Sukuna, being the greatest tactical genius in history, he would notice this weakness in the very first millisecond of the fight. Sukuna wouldn't focus his main attacks on Gojo. He would use the other sorcerers as human shields. He would start firing massive dismantle slashes toward easier targets like Ino or Kusakabe. That would force Gojo into a desperate escort mission, using Blue's teleportation just to push his students out of the cutting zone. The strongest sorcerer in the world would be completely nerfed because he's too busy protecting everyone else. And here, guys, the strategic tragedy happens to keep the tension high and prove that the Jujutsu world always demands payment in blood. Hajime Kashimo, blinded by his pride and his desire to face Sukuna head-on, ignores everyone's warnings to fall back. He activates mythical beast Amber, turning his body into pure electricity, and charges forward at lightning speed. But Sukuna just smiles. With one subtle move, he calibrates a cleave perfectly adjusted to Kashimo's cursed energy density, and in a fraction of a second, the god of lightning gets sliced into a geometric net of flesh cubes. Kusakabe tries to use Simple Domain to contain the shockwave, but the pressure is so overwhelming that his arm gets severed instantly. That brutal defeat proves that one single mistake against the King of Curses means instant death. The squad gets hit with the harsh reality that they're only getting in Gojo's way, and that's when Todo steps in spectacularly. Equipped with his Vibra Slab, he starts clapping at an insane rate of 50 swaps per second. Todo pulls off a teleportation choreography we've never seen before, switching the entire squad's positions and clearing them out of the area in the blink of an eye. Todo clears the board and creates a surgical opening of exactly 0.1 seconds, where the battlefield is empty, leaving only Gojo and Sukuna. And guys, it's in that exact 0.1 second that Gojo, looking absolutely insane and smiling like a maniac after seeing his students are safe, brings his fingers together. With no need to hold back anymore, he unleashes a 200% hollow purple at point-blank range. The imaginary technique erases space-time itself, obliterating half of Sukuna's body with so much force that the villain is forced to burn his reincarnation into his Heian form in the very first round just to avoid being completely vaporized. And I'll leave the rest of that scenario up to you guys in the comments. Scenario 2, survival mode. Now imagine a second universe that's completely different and much darker. Forget Gojo. In this alternate reality, Hanakurusu was killed by Sukuna the moment he took over Megumi's body, which means the prison realm could never be opened. Gojo remains sealed in darkness. Without Satoru there to wear the villain down, the students of Jujutsu High have to face the final boss at 100% of his power. Talking about Sukuna in his full original Heian form. 4 arms, 20 fingers of raw power, massive cursed tools in hand, and malevolent shrine, completely intact. Let me be very honest with you guys. This isn't a normal shonen fight. This is a horror movie. This is an apocalyptic raid boss where raw strength is useless. Sukuna's power level here is completely broken. To beat a monster like this, the new generation has to abuse some bizarre hacks in the rules of cursed energy. The plan starts in the most kamikaze way possible. The first one to step into the arena is Takaba. Using his comedian technique, he distorts the laws of reality by thinking it would be funny if Sukuna started acting like a cartoon villain. Sukuna tries to fire the world-cutting slash, but the attack turns into a harmless rain of flowers and confetti. The King of Curses gets confused, annoyed, and trapped inside a nonsense comedy skit. Takaba doesn't deal any real damage, but his bizarre performance buys the team a crucial 10 seconds to get into position. At the speed of sound, Todo uses his teleportation to throw Higuruma directly in front of the villain. Higuruma slams the gavel and expands his courtroom domain, deadly sentencing. Inside the barrier, violence is completely forbidden. Judgment accuses Sukuna of the massacres in Shibuya. Sukuna, finding the whole trial boring, immediately confesses to the crimes. The verdict is merciless: death penalty and confiscation. Everything goes according to plan, but this time, tragedy comes knocking. Judgment confiscates Sukuna's innate technique, and Higuruma receives the executioner's sword. But Sukuna still has 4 arms and more cursed energy than everyone there combined. His physical strength is monstrous. He dodges Higuruma's strike, grabs the lawyer's wrist, and crushes his bones with pure physical pressure. The domain collapses. The moment the barrier falls, hell breaks loose in the arena. Realizing the threat, Sukuna begins a merciless physical massacre. Choso throws himself in front of Yuji to save him from a fatal blow, pushing his blood armor to its absolute limit. The impact of Sukuna's punch is so violent that it destroys Choso's core of cursed energy, and he collapses lifelessly in his brother's arms. Right after that, moving faster than the human eye can follow, Sukuna uses his 4 arms and raw strength to knock out the rest of the support squad. Todo is severely injured and loses the ability to use his teleportation, while Yuta gets launched through the rubble. In less than a minute, the Jujutsu world proves once again that it charges a very bitter price. The dust settles, and on the battlefield, only 2 sorcerers have enough durability to survive this meat grinder in close combat. Maki, moving like an untouchable ghost thanks to her heavenly restriction, and Hakari, completely immortal after hitting a jackpot. The 2 enter a brutal, suicidal exchange against Sukuna's 4 arms, serving as the final distraction. And this is where the open loop from the beginning finally closes. Yuji doesn't focus his attacks on the villain's physical body. Because he was the perfect vessel for so long, he developed the surreal ability to see the contours of the soul. While Maki and Hakari are getting absolutely destroyed, Yuji emerges from Sukuna's blind spot and unleashes a devastating chain of black flashes. Pay attention to the power escalation here. Each one of Yuji's black punches doesn't break ribs. His strikes hit the exact boundary separating Sukuna's soul from Megumi's. Every impact makes the souls vibrate and lose synchronization. Sukuna's energy output starts dropping drastically. 20%, 40%, 60%. Itadori turns the power fantasy into reality, beating the soul of the greatest villain in history and forcing him into a weakened state never seen before, bringing the King of Curses to his knees and leaving him vulnerable even without Gojo. Scenario 3, the Avengers of Shibuya. Finally, the third scenario takes us to a new reality right after Gojo's tragic death in the manga. Instead of attacking Sukuna one by one like they're waiting in line, they decide to activate full war mode immediately. Sukuna has just beaten Gojo. His brain is damaged. He can't open his domain expansion. His regeneration is heavily weakened. The new generation strategy is to not give the villain even a single millisecond to breathe or fire the feared world-cutting slash. No stalling. Let's get straight to the tactical humiliation. The execution of this plan is a masterpiece of collective power. Yuta falls from the sky and opens his domain expansion, filling the battlefield with katanas stabbed into the ground. But the true strategic genius is Todo Aoi's positioning. He deliberately stays outside the domain barrier, completely protected from counterattacks. From that moment on, the fight turns into a tactical machine. Sukuna tries to raise his hands to fire slashes at Yuta. Todo senses the cursed energy fluctuation and hits the vibra slap. Bam! Sukuna is suddenly swapped with one of the domain's katanas. Before he can even process the change, he comes face to face with Yuji Itadori. Boom! A perfect, monstrous black flash explodes straight into Sukuna's jaw. The King of Curses gets launched backward, but before he can hit the ground, Todo hits the vibra slap again. Bam! Sukuna's body is swapped in mid-air with Yuji, landing perfectly in Maki Zenin's attack path. She comes down with the full force of the Soul Split Katana, delivering a perfect slash that tears through Sukuna's heart and deals severe spiritual damage that reverse curse technique can't heal. Sukuna tries to use his secondary mouth for a desperate attack, but the power escalation gives him no breathing room. Kashimo, serving as heavy artillery from outside the barrier, fires condensed lightning blasts through the gaps. Pure electricity explodes Sukuna's extra arms, preventing him from forming any hand signs. Everything still plays out like a life or death battle, but this time, the king's humiliation is total and complete. Sukuna's brain short circuits, trapped in a loop of spatial pain. He gets teleported into a soul punch, then a spiritual slash, then electrocuted, all within a fraction of a second. There's no time for monologues, no time for trash talk. He gets crushed relentlessly by the intelligence of the new generation, who pulverize the threat and free Megumi by wearing down his oppressor. In this isolated universe, the students proved Gojo was completely right. They didn't need to create another lonely, strongest sorcerer. They just needed to work together to become the deadliest collective force in the entire Jujutsu world. But you see, guys, what did you think of these three separate realities? Do you think Sukuna, with his genius, would still find a way to pull a binding vow out of nowhere and escape this beatdown? Drop your theories down in the comments, because I promise I read all of them. And if you enjoyed this power fantasy script and want to see more insane what-if theories from the anime world, go ahead and smash that subscribe button and leave a like to help me keep making more. I'm Shoyo, I'm heading out for now. Big hug, God bless, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.